So our proposal for this project was attack analysis using Honeypot and Snort. So this is a project for Fundamentals of Cybersecurity, CS 579. My team members are Atharva Pate, Tejas Adav, and myself, Venu Prasad Mohan. So I'm here to talk about honeypots today. So what is a honeypot? Honeypot is a computer system that is intended to attract cyber attacks. It is mainly used to mimic a big organization that has a big backend infrastructure so that hackers can target the machine by mimicking to be an actual machine. And it used to collect data and log these data for later analysis. It uses these intrusion attempts to gain more information about how hackers and attackers are, what techniques they are using to attack the machine. The honeypot machine is not an actual machine, but it just mimics the actual machine. So it doesn't really affect any organization. The benefit of this is by deploying such a machine, we can identify attacks, we can perform intrusion detection and intrusion prevention. The first step was configuring it, deploying Honeypot in a cloud infrastructure. Our first idea was setting it up on, our first intention was to set it up on AWS. There, we configured a dual stack virtual private cloud first. I can show you that. So this is the dual stack VPC that I created. That's when we decided to go with a DigitalOcean setup after further research. The benefit of using DigitalOcean setup was that it gave us a $200 free credit for educational purposes. We made use of them and we deployed a droplet with the recommended configuration. Yes, we were able to successfully SSH into the instance. We got root access. The next step here was basically to install and configure the honeypot. So here, if you see, I mean, it's again a big video, so I'm going to fast forward this here. We initially, there was no Git available, so we updated the Debian instance and upgraded to the latest version. Once that was done, we installed Git, and we can forward that. Yeah, so here is when we are installing Git on the Debian instance that we deployed. After that, we cloned the project. The first time we tried this, we basically installed it with the default configuration. At a later step, we also modified the configuration to see uh, to collect different kinds of data. So here I'm running the install script provided by the project, and this took about 10 minutes to install. So I'm going to forward that. We created a default username and password, and how this, okay, while this is installing, I can also explain how this works. So basically, this open source project has multiple honeypots to mimic different kinds of backend infrastructures, and they're all containerized with Docker, and each honeypots are running on different Docker containers. And then there is an Nginx server or Nginx load balancer in the front, which acts as a gateway for the entry point of the cloud infrastructure, and any requests that come hit the Nginx server, and the Nginx server forwards this to its respective Docker container. So that specific honeypot receives the request, performs whatever action it's supposed to do. It mimics a response, but it is not an actual response. It gives the dummy data to pretend that it's actually a machine and not a honeypot machine, to make hackers believe that they are actually accomplishing something and to gain more information from this intrusion. Uh, and there's an elk stack here with Kibana, Logstash, and all that. That is used for monitoring what kind of attacks are coming. If I can forward this. So once the installation complete, the system reboots first. And once reboot is complete, we are again back here. This is when we opened our So there's a dummy website that's available for attackers to try performing attacks. This is a dummy website, part of the honeypot, for attackers to try and hack into the machine. Within few minutes of deployment, we started seeing a lot of attacks. We are going to continue collecting it. Uh, yeah, so that's it.
Yes, sir. My name is Atharva, and I'll be continuing where Venu has left it. So, what is an ELK stack? An ELTA stack is a collection of three open source products, namely E for Elasticsearch, L for Logstash, and K for Kibana. ELK stack provides centralized logging in order to identify problems with servers or applications. It also allows us to search all the logs in a single place, which is very handy. And it also helps us to find issues in a multiple servers by connecting the logs during a specific time frame. Okay. What is Elasticsearch used for? It is mainly used for storing logs. Then what is Logstash used for? We can use it for both shipping as well as processing and storing logs. And what is K stands for? It's Kibana, and it is a visualization tool which is hosted through Nginx or Apache. Uh, we will be talking about it, so let's dive deep into Kibana. What are the features of Kibana? Starting with, it is a very powerful front-end dashboard which is capable of visualizing indexed information from Elastic Cluster. We can also enable like real-time search of indexed information. In Kibana, I can search, view, interact with data stored in Elasticsearch. We can also execute queries on data and we can visualize it, the results in the form of charts, tables, and maps. We can also configure dashboards to slice and dice Logstash logs in Elasticsearch, which is very easy for visualization as well as understanding. And we can also be capable of providing historical data in the form of graphs and charts. In this, like there is real-time dashboards, which is easily configurable. Now, moving on to the advantages of Kibana, as I said, like as I talked about it, you must have understood that it is very easy to visualize. And as it is like fully integrated with Elasticsearch, it offers time and real-time analysis. We can also chart things, summarize things, and debug problems if there are any. It also provides instinctive and user-friendly interface. We are also allowed to share screenshots of the logs, which is very useful for debugging the problem. We can also permit saving the dashboard and managing multiple dashboards. Now, I'll be talking about each and every honeypot that is in here, like giving you a gist of it. Like, mostly Tejas will be covering it in the results video. So, yeah, let's start with it. Firstly, it's Tanner. Uh, since Tanner is a honeypot framework, the type of attacks observed depend on specific honeypot deployed using this framework. It can attract a wide range of attacks targeting various services and protocols. Shurikata is an intrusion detection and prevention system. It is primarily focused on detecting and preventing network-based data. It can detect attacks like network scanning, port scanning, denial of service, and various type of network intrusion attempts. Centripeer. As a distributed honeypot system, Centripeer can attract and capture a wide range of attacks, across different network segments. It can detect attacks like network reconnaissance, malware propagation, and various exploits targeting different services. Redis Honeypot. It is specifically designed to emulate a vulnerable Redis server. It can attract attacks like remote code execution, unauthorized access attempts, and exploitation of Redis vulnerabilities. Nginx. When deployed as a honeypot, Nginx can attract attacks targeting web services, mainly web services. The common attacks that are observed by Nginx are like web application attacks like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, which is XSS, directory traversal, and remote file inclusion as well. What is MedPot? MedPot, it emulates a medical device and healthcare system, and it can attract attacks aimed on compromising healthcare infrastructure. These attacks may include attempts to exploit medical device vulnerabilities, unauthorized access to the payments data, or network reconnaissance within healthcare networks. Okay. Now, what is Meloni? Meloni, it is mainly focused on vulnerabilities of email services. Um, there can be spam campaigns, phishing attempts, email-based malware distribution, and attempts to gain unauthorized access to the email accounts. Moving on, what is Log4Port? Uh, it's for log servers. It can attract attacks to tamper with logs, like any changes in those. Unauthorized access attempts, targeting log aggregation system, or attempts to exploit vulnerabilities in a log management infrastructure. Anything can happen related to a log. What is IP phony? It is for IP devices. It can attract attacks like unauthorized access attempts, targeting specific IP device vulnerabilities, targeting IP networks, honey trap. It is a flexible honeypot framework. Attacks can be depending on the deployed honeypot. They can attack targeting services like FTP, Telnet, SSH, HTTP, or other protocols and applications. Moving on, what is heralding? It is for network services like FTP, Telnet, or SSH, and it can attract target attacks from these targeting specific IP vulnerabilities. Common attacks observed include brute force, login attempts, command injection, or attempts to exploit vulnerabilities in these protocols. Helpot. It is used for capturing SSS based attack, which can be SSH brute forcing, password guessing, SSH key that attempts to exploit the SSH vulnerabilities. Gluton is for network file sharing services like SMB. These can attract vulnerabilities or SMB vulnerabilities or attempt to spread malware through SMB share. What is FAT? It is for FTP servers. Like we can, if there are any vulnerabilities in FTP, the attacks can be FTP brute forcing, FTP command injection, or the attempts to exploit FTP vulnerabilities. Endless SH, it is focused on monitoring SSH attacks. Elastic pot, it can attract attacks targeting vulnerabilities to Elastic Stack components. I'll be showing you. Okay, so These are the honeypots that are there. I'll just show you one of those. So this is the dashboard that we have. As I said, in the advantages of Kibana, we can even edit the dashboard as per what we want. In the dashboard, there are lots and lots of visualization in here, which is pretty easy for us to see the data properly and visualize it. So I'll be transferring now to Tejas and he'll be continuing with the results a day later.
Hello, sir. Myself, Tejas Sadao. I am here to show analysis of the data instances that are running from couple of days. I'm specifically gonna talk about Tanner, Suricata, Centripeer, and Redis Honeypot. Like starting with Tanner. It's like a Tanner is a type of honeypot that is used to detect and monitor attacks that targets file servers, and it also works by simulating the file server environment, logging attacker activities, while Tanner can be a valuable tool for improving network security, as it must be carefully and like appropriate safeguard to minimize the risk of unintended consequences. So on this dashboard we can see that there are uh, 188 attacks occurred or from which we have captured from 52 unique IP addresses. These are the bar graph of type of attacks and like how many attacks are conducted and in past 24 hours. Attacks originated from and the type of attacks like attack done by bot, mass scanners, like a group of attackers tried to attack and these are the unknown attackers, which can be group attackers or like uh, individual with wrong intentions. Then the these are the Tanner HTTP users agents which are used while attacking from Mozilla, Python, Hello World, and over here we can see the source IP address of top 10 dynamics from where which of the more attacks. For example, like if we clicked on this IP address, we get the origin from where the attack was done, the owner's IP address, from which network he tried to attack, the spam level. All right, moving further to Suricata. Suricata is used to analyze the network from where network, and it is used to scan the networks from where. So over here we have recorded 1,65 events, sorry, 165 and 884 and small events, from which we have recorded 2.4k unique source IP addresses and 345 areas. Then if we move down, like from where was the framework of the attack, so it was on JSON, HTML, XML, and AIXC code. If we go down, we can see over here is CVID. So basically, this is a CV 2020 11899. Like it's a security vulnerability that was identified in Microsoft Windows. It is a remote code execution vulnerability that exists in the way that Windows handles specifically crafted images files. And like an attacker who successfully exploits the vulnerability could execute the arbitrary code in the content user. Like over here we can see CVSS score and vulnerability types. CVSS score like are calculated using a formula consist of vulnerability based metrics. CVSS score is derived from scores in these three group: base, temporal, and environmental. A score range from 0 to 10, with the 0 representing the least severe and the 10 representing the most severe. So over here we can say that the attack score is pretty much less severe. The confidentiality impact is none. Integrity impact is partial. Same goes with availability impact. It's partially vulnerable. But talking about the access complexity, is the least. So all this factors determine this scores, which is 4.8, which is least severe. So moving further to Centrapair. So Centrapair is used to like do the analysis of like different type of attacks, network reconnaissance, malware propagation, and target services. Over here we recorded 18K different types of attacks, from which most of the attacks were done in the Philippines as per the data. So attacks by the country, it was done by it. The attack was done by most from the Philippines, and attacked also, and the victims were also the Philippines. All the IP address we have captured were unknown, therefore making it unique. It this graph represents the different types of source IP address we have captured. The highest is this IP address. This has a sorry, um, with this IP address with the highest amount of success rate. So the location of the data was Philippines, and we over here we got the IP address plus the name of the owner. That's interesting because we also got the name of the owner. Centripear is a type of honeypot like that is used to detect and monitor the attacks from that targets P2P network. It works by analyzing networks traffic and luring attacks into the revealing their intentions and techniques, as we got the name of the attacker. While a Centripear can be a valuable tool for improving the network security, it must be used carefully and with the appropriate safeguard to minimize the risk of unintended consequences. So, moving further to Redis honeypot. Redis honeypot is a type of honeypot that is used to detect and monitor attacks that targets the Redis database. It works by simulating the Redis database environment and logging attackers activities. With Redis honeypot can be a valuable tool for improving the network security. It must be used with careful with appropriate safeguard to minimize the risk to of unintended consequences. Like according to my research, one of the advantage of using Redis honeypot as a honeypot is that it allows security personnel to observe and analyze attacks in the controlled environment. This can help to identify new attack methods and patterns, which can then be improve the overall security posture of the organization. As we can see, there we are recorded 278 attacks with 86 unique IDs. These are the attack based on our 24 hours timeline. And and pretty much that's it. So like there are, according to our presentation, we have more than 15 plus honeypots, but it was like explaining each and every was like cliche, because each and every one was like similarly related to each other. So these four were most important honeypots. So moving further, like what we can like what are the benefits of honeypots? Like early detection of attacks, like a honeypot can be detected and alert the security personnel to an attack as soon as it occurs, since they are not used for any legitimate purpose. Any activity on the honeypot can be presumed to be an attack. Like then realistic attack simulation, honeypot can be simulate a real system or application, thereby providing a realistic target for the attacker. This allows security personnel to study and analyze the techniques and procedures used by the attackers. Thank you so much. These are some of the reference links we used for our presentation project, and the reference and learning. And pretty much that's it. Thank you so much.